What is Ikigai? Well, it's something which we use to work out what it is we love. What it is we love, what we're good at, what's our purpose, what skills do we have? Bring that all together to some sort of, key idea of what it is we should do essentially with our lives. So it's an ancient Japanese concept, not that ancient, it's only probably about 600 years old, that can help you create a business that really aligns with more than just making money, because at the end of the day, there's 1,000 things you could do to make money. So this is looking at the thing you might be able to do to make money that will engage you and sustain you through the times when maybe it's not making a lot of money at all. So why do we look at Ikigai? Oh, by the way, I'm Dante from the Darwin Innovation Hub. I'm on the road at the moment, so I'm dressed in my winter woolies because I'm down in the Gold Coast and it's a little bit less gold and a whole lot more cold at the moment. So Ikigai is about work that you can do or a business you can start that aligns more with your values, something that reflects the things that really matter to you. It helps keep you motivated because when the money is a little hard, it gives you something, I guess, a mission, something which is a bit more than just the fact that you're not making money at the moment to keep going. And that's something sustainable because it's built on something which goes beyond just a short-term result and gets you into a long-term growth mentality. And I often joke to people I run on a very long game because for a lot of years there, it felt like I was just investing, and working and working and working and getting nothing for it. But eventually things did work. Like most things in life, we can't expect it to work within a couple of months. It takes a while for momentum to build and for things to happen. And Ikigai kind of ties into that because it looks at what it is you love, the passions, interests, the things that you might go the Marie Kondo way, which is, the things that spark joy in your life, what you're good at, the things you are either naturally good at or you've learned to be good at, things that you've learned over time. Then it compares that with what the world needs. So, what is a problem out there that others need solved for them? And then I guess it is a business after all, or a career. So, what can you be paid for? What can you actually make money from? Because I love Star Trek, right? I've been in love with Star Trek and its universe all of my life, but it's pretty hard to make money out of someone else's intellectual property. I'm not in a position to make money from Star Trek. What am I good at? Talking. What does the world need? Probably less talkers and less Star Trek. Probably not necessarily not more at that. What can I be paid for? Well, can I be paid for talking? And this is how I kind of came up with what my Ikigai is, the thing that's in the middle of what I really want to do with my life and what businesses I want to run. And it's helped me to make decisions about what businesses to get rid of. And I've had to get rid of some businesses because they were just highly profitable. And I put the business I was running that was building websites, for example. I did that for years. I've been building websites since 1996. In 2023, I completely shut that whole line of business down and I do not build anyone's websites anymore. That was the number one source of my revenue. And to get rid of that was a big leap of faith to say, I'm going to look to do the thing that I really love. And I'll tell you what, 2023 was a hard year. A lot of things changed that year. My income practically disappeared overnight because of a number of factors. And that was a really hard one. What got me through, though, was persisting at the things I do love. So having enough to sort of still pay my bills, because, we still have to do that regardless of what we're passionate about, but then actually having that ability to be able to then go, I'm still working only on the things I love. I'm building the things I love to do. So that was the Ikigai model that I applied to myself. And it tends to work really well for those of us who start our own businesses because it's about preventing burnout. People generally burn out because they're doing work they hate or at least don't particularly love, usually for someone else. And when you find, like in the case of the websites for me, I was constantly building websites for other people. I was doing nothing for myself. And having done that for so many years, and they're high maintenance things. And while they're high reward, they're also high interaction with clients. And whilst I love doing a consult and giving advice and training people, working constantly on singular projects really burns me down to the ground. It's not something I'm good at. And to be quite honest, it's not something I want to be good at either. What it does, it balances the things that are good for business with the things that are good for you. So is this good for my heart? Is this good for me as a person to be able to continue to do this? Or is it just good for business? Because you can do anything in this world to make money. You could get a job. You could start a business up with, washing laundry for people and you do well and that's great for money. But is it good for you? Is that something which you can sustain for the rest of your life? Because I tell you now, I'm not that guy. I do not have the kind of grit it would take to work on what other people want me to do. I only have really the grit to work on the things that I love and believe in. And it really suits people like you, me, solopreneurs, people who are starting up businesses from nothing, because it's very scalable, that works for kind of all kinds of businesses. It doesn't mean you end up doing that one thing you love, because remember, I told you I love Star Trek. I can't make money from that. The world doesn't really need that. And whilst I may have a lot of knowledge about it, I do not have Star Trek skills as such. So what can I do with that? Well, I can apply it in many ways, and I'll show you how I sort of worked through that shortly so it makes a bit of sense. So there's a few case studies in here, and that's a really quick webinar tonight, which is a good thing. We can get away to dinner. The case studies include people like Patagonia. Patagonia had a love of climbing in nature. It was founded by people who were outdoor enthusiasts, who had genuine passion for what they were doing, the clothes they were selling, the adventures they were going on. Their skill was craftsmanship. They could make excellent, durable, functional clothing that was made for adventurers. The need was to have durable eco gear, gear that was environmentally responsible, gear that was made for the outdoors. That was the need, what the world needed. They also needed a way of making it much more sustainable. And the idea was you could take in Patagonia clothes when you're finished with them, and they would find a way to recycle them or reuse them or even resell them as is. And the paying comes from premium pricing. They could charge a premium because the people who love Patagonia are brand loyal. They will spend whatever it takes to spend on those. I've got a friend called Peter who lives in New York City, and every time I see a photo of him, and he is not an outdoorsy guy in the slightest, but he is definitely just dedicated to Patagonia. He wears nothing else but Patagonia gear, even though he works in an art gallery in New York City. So, how do we then take this into maybe another area, a resort, for example? Now, there's a bigger business, and not all of us have Japanese resorts, but the Hoshino resorts have a love of Japanese culture. Now, how can we make money out of that? Well, do we have skills in that? And they did through modernizing the traditional ryokan experience, so the traditional hospitality and accommodation experience of bringing it into the 21st century. They had a great skill at that. Was there a need? Well, there was a need for cultural preservation where they can maintain those traditions while still coming into the modern era. And the paying came from luxury guests who, again, would pay a premium for a premium experience. And that's not for everyone. That's not for Jetstar travelers. This is for discerning travelers, people who are willing to pay for that. And this is what you'll start to see a lot of as a theme when we look at case studies, or even at the stuff I do now. I get paid a lot more now to do the things I love, because I found that combination of something I love, the skills that I have, what the world needs, and what people are willing to pay for. And they're willing to pay a lot more for that thing than what they were willing to pay me for websites a few years ago. So, Zappos, I don't know if you heard of them. We don't really have them much here in Australia, but they were a shoe store online who became very, very big and eventually were bought by Amazon. So they started with a genuine love of creating happiness. That's what their whole thing was. They were called, delivering happiness. That was their whole process, was of making people so wildly happy with their purchase they would never have that retail regret of buying something online and not having a good experience of it. They had a great skill at customer service, which was unbelievable at the time. We're not talking about like the crap that Temu and Wish and all those companies put you through, even Amazon. They were like evangelistic about providing such great customer excellence, and they did it well. They had a legit skill that was renowned. The world needed, they saw, wow experiences, things that would exceed the expectations in online shopping, because we have really not had a great time of online shopping. It was something which, we just assume that it's going to be a bad experience. And how do people pay for that? They pay by loyalty by continually coming back again and again and again. Zappos weren't ridiculously expensive. They weren't a premium experience at all. They're like an online shoe store in the same vein as Payless shoes, or Williams Schumann in your local Westfield shopping town, or your local Casuarina Square. There was nothing special about their shoes. They just made the whole buying experience much better online than what anyone else had. And they sold out to Amazon for billions, like really billions. So how do we apply this? What is the Ikigai framework, and how do we understand those elements? Well, we start with the idea of passion, right? That's what you love. What you love, things that bring you joy, things that fulfill you, things that drive you to wake up the next morning and keep going on that idea. What is something you're good at, your profession, your skills, your talents, the things you're really strong at, things you've spent a lifetime learning. Then we look at the mission. What does the world need? The problems you can solve for others, the little irritating things that are going on in the world. It could be the world needs a solution to plastic. The world needs a solution to violence. The world needs a solution to. It doesn't have to be an altruistic mission. It just has to be your mission, something that you can tie into. And your vocation then comes for what you can be paid for in the realm of services or products that people will pay you for. Now, you look at all those things, you could probably go, well, I know what I love, I know what I'm good at, I know what the world needs. I kind of know the things that I could probably get paid for. Now, this is that fourth quadrant, the vocation is probably where it does fall down a bit, because most of us go, yeah, I love this. I love working with natural ingredients to create beautiful essential oils. Your profession is, oh, I'm getting pretty good at this, but really I'm actually an admin assistant with an AO6 level in the Northern Territory government. I don't know, how do I mush that together? A mission, what does the world need? Does the world need more essential oil providers? Probably not. There's enough of them out there. So where do I get, oh gosh, what does the world, the world probably needs, quality experiences and a way to sort of, elevate its consciousness or something like that. And then you get to the, how is people going to pay this? Are people going to pay me for my special homemade blend of oils? Probably not. And this is where we generally fall down. We try and mix and mash something that we love first, and then sort of reverse engineer it by squishing that square peg into round holes. So what Ikigai kind of gets you to do is to look at this more holistically. It's saying, well, okay, what do you love? Now, in my case, Star Trek. Okay, so professional. Am I good at anything to do with Star Trek? Well, I'm good at learning a lot of knowledge about it. Okay, that's two. I can take two there. The mission. Does the world need someone who's got more knowledge of Star Trek? I don't know. There's a lot of people like that on YouTube already. Man, fell down. Damn it. Okay, so what is it I like about Star Trek? What is it I'm so passionate? For me, it's the better tomorrow. It's a better world ahead of us than what we've got right now. And that world is made up of technology. Technology. Okay, that's the thing I really love so much. The starships and the technology and the computers and the replicators and all these things that they use, the tech that they use in the future. I go, okay, it's the tech of Star Trek that made me love it so much as a kid, that drove me to get my first computer, my Commodore 64, that drove me to learn more about tech, to get into tech support when I was older. Wait a minute. I'm thinking it's Star Trek. It's not Star Trek, it's tech. What is it I loved about that? It was technology. So am I good at technology? God damn, yeah. I'm really good at it. I make my own apps and my own software. I'm using a great computer here, putting together these amazing presentations and all. Okay, great. I'm good at talking about tech and teaching other people how to use tech. Okay, we're getting somewhere. The mission, what the world needs. Gosh, it could use a few people who know how to teach people how to use technology. That's for sure, because there's a big lot of people who just are scared of it, can't approach it, don't know what to do. Okay, I've got 3 out of 4 now. Can I be paid to teach people how to use technology and to use technology myself? I think I found my Ikigai. My Ikigai is helping people to learn about how to use technology. I really enjoy showing people how to do that. I'm good at it. The world needs it, and the world's willing to pay for it. That's how I found my Ikigai. That's literally the process I went through. But I had to look behind the immediate thing of what do I love? So I look at, I love Star Trek, I love Star Wars, I love science fiction. What is the thing in common there? Technology, creating a better tomorrow. Right. And that gave me the path to follow. So what you do is, yeah, you still start with a passion, but the passion isn't necessarily what you think it is. You have given it a name or a brand or some very specific description, but the reality could be, it could be much more general than that. So that's what those four pillars of Ikigai meant for me. So what you love is really the things that creatively fuel you. For me, that's technology. I could talk about it all day. I love it. Always have loved it. I listen to technology podcasts. And is there a bit of demand for that? Because passion without a purpose is a hobby, not a business. And that's where a lot of people, when they get started on those things they love to do, such as painting and doing art, is they may love doing those things, but it's not necessarily something that can lead them to a sustainable business. In some cases, it certainly can. But just know that it is a hard road to go down. So you go, well, what is it about art that I love that actually can be a sustainable business? And then we offset that with what you're good at, right? What are the things you're strong at? The developed skills you've had over time, or even things that you are naturally good at doing. That's the next step. So you think about that. What are the things you already are good at? They don't even have to be related to what you love. In fact, it's probably better if they're not, because it'll be so much easier to get those mismatched things that when they're smushed together, make sense about what your Ikigai will be. So it's that unique combination of skills that creates your value proposition. And your value proposition is, what is the thing that you can bring value to someone's life with, so much that you could turn it into a mission, you could turn it into something you love, because the world might need it. And this is when we say the world might need it. It solves a real problem. It's not a nice to have. It's not something where we're creating, it's something interesting, something cool, cute. We have to solve a real problem. It's a pain point that someone has. You go, well, nobody needs more essential oils, but what they may need is hypoallergenic essential oils. You go, that's what I could do. Go down the hypoallergenic route. A woman that I know, Victoria, she's based in Western Australia. Funnily enough, Victoria, Western Australia. We talk about Queensland next, but she created a skincare range called Oz Sense Skin. So, literally Oz Sense Skin, Oz sensitive skin, basically. And it was made for people like herself that have a lot of trouble with the ingredients in cosmetics and in skincare products. So she made this. She's been quite successful at getting this now going. And she found that it was, whilst it's nice to have yet another skincare range, and there's so many of them out there, for her is actually creating it was solving a problem. The people who had sensitive skin, who didn't want to use things from a supermarket, they wanted to use something more premium, more upscale, more upmarket. She found that. And that's how she sort of found her Ikigai. And she doesn't do it full time, she does it part time, but it's actually paying for itself now. And then, of course, here's the monetization, right? The big one. What can we build a business out of? What can we be paid for? So this is where we look at going, okay, we need to chase profits because that's what a sustainable business does. But in order to do that, we need to get all that other stuff together first. So we've got something valuable that someone is willing to pay for. Now, the reality is, when you're a small business owner, a solopreneur, you're still on your own, you're not going to compete with Coles, Woolworths, Kmart, and all that for the mass market. No one's going to get your mass market product because you probably can't produce that much stuff. It takes a lot of money and investment in capital to produce massive amounts of any product. Service-wise, you're probably going to exchange time for money, people seeing you, talking to you. So in that case, you've got to limit the amount of hours you've got to work with. To create a sustainable business, you've got to balance your purpose with the profitability. And that is the greatest challenge of all with business, with purpose, is that you need to find the money, but you also got to keep your values in check as well. So we start off with the first step, which is, what do you love? And find what it is about what you love. The very specific thing. You can go, I can draw a line from what I love to what I'm good at, to what the world needs, to what I can be paid for. Because it's not usually the most obvious thing we think it is. And that's the key with Ikigai, is we think it's really obvious and really simple, but it's actually not. You need to look behind each of those things. So in application, in process, you know, think about where the sweet spot is. Do you love it enough to wake up excited to work on your business? I love every day. I wake up every morning, go to the gym at 5 a.m. I'm out of there by 7. I'm the first person in the office at 7:15. And that's because I love what I do. Absolutely love what I do. And I'm very, very good at it. And I know that my customers need it. They actively seek me out. And therefore, it is wildly profitable. I get to do these free webinars at night, with very few people turning up to them and sometimes tons of people turning up to them. And it doesn't matter because it's my way of giving back this stuff I love. So if I got nobody turning up, I'd still record it and still put it on YouTube because someone will find that in there because I love doing it. Finding your Ikigai means you've got to really take a long, hard look or a long, soft look, I think, through listing what your passions and skills and needs and how you can sort of monetize those as well. Just go and practice with this. Just make a list, make lists and lists and lists of the things you love, the skills you have. So you have more than just one obvious thing. You can just look at a whole lot of them. When you don't do this kind of thing, you just go to default and just go, well, this is obviously what I love. This is obviously what I'm good at. But you're good at hundreds of things. You probably love hundreds of things. There's so much you could go there for. And then start really small. You start with a very small thing. Once you sort of find out what you think that Ikigai may be, test it with a small amount of customers. Release a small piece of software. I love making software for vibe coding, right? I've released 13 different programs in the last 6 weeks, and I've got another one going live tomorrow morning that I'm practicing on late tonight to make sure it works. I'm not revolutionizing anything. I'm just taking things that are problems I need to solve that I assume some other people need to solve as well, and testing it with a very small group of people. If they love it, I can start charging for it. If they don't love it, I can throw it away because I really haven't had much of an issue with that. And as we come to the last few slides, avoid these traps when you're going through the Ikigai process, because we're talking about where you have a passion with no market. That's a hobby where there's no revenue model to help you make money. Therefore, it's not Ikigai, it's just a passion. Ignoring some of those skills that you have and then not ignoring the gaps you have between the skills you have and the skills you need to have in order to make that money. If you don't know how to run a business or set it up correctly with a company structure, any of that sort of thing, go find people who do. There's plenty of government-based programs that will help you do that. And then there's the mission misalignment for those business activities that really rub the wrong way against your core values. That's something which is going to be a real problem because when the money starts flowing, that tends to be the time when you go, I have these core values, but I'm willing to sort of shove those aside. What will happen over time is you'll begin to resent the business you're building because it no longer reflects you or what you're passionate about. And you don't wake up and bounce out of bed at 5 a.m. like I do in order to go that step further. The benefits of doing this is that you are more resilient because you are joyful about waking up in the morning. You don't get put down by challenges. You may be sort of slowed down a bit, but you don't burn out. There's loyalty to your business because it is felt by people when you are doing something you love, that you feel like it's important, the world needs it, and you really enjoy it. People see that. It becomes fulfilling. Fulfilled people are happy. Fulfilled people are passionate. They are more driven than those who just turn up and grab a paycheck. And your business becomes more sustainable because you're there for it through the thick and the thin. So this is why we do it. So your next steps really are all about mapping out what you love, mapping out all your skills, mapping out the things that you could probably solve in the world, or you might even begin to solve, map out how you might make money out of it, test that out, refine it. You want to iterate, which is basically just test in little small chunks based upon the feedback you're getting back from people. In the world of software, it's quite easy to do it. If you're making a product, then you may need to just make very small batches and just try it out, maybe even give it away for people to test and give you feedback. One piece of advice, don't give it to family members because they'll lie to you because they just want to support you and they don't want to hurt you. So please don't test these things out with loved ones because they will inevitably lie to you. The takeaway is we want to turn your purpose and your passion and your profit into a successful, sustainable business. Because your Ikigai will change over time. Mine certainly has changed. The core of it's much the same, but the way that it looks out into what I do on a day-to-day basis has changed. I was not a software developer 3 months ago. Now I am. I was not an AI user 3 years ago. Now I am. I was not a full registered company, 5 years ago. Now I am. So assess and reassess. Keep that list of all those things, the passions, the skills, what the world needs, what things you could do to make money. Keep those lists handy because you might want to drag them out again just to reassess whether you truly are working in your Ikigai. If you truly are working within the things you find that you've got a passion for. So map your Ikigai out, take some time to do it, spend just a bit of time this week or this weekend, just sort of seeing what those ideas are, and then test one idea out, even if it's in your own head. Test it out. Go through that process of going, this is what I could do. I wonder if this is what my Ikigai is. You'll know if it is because it'll be like something lights up inside you where you go, wow. When I first realized that my Ikigai was to do with technology and not to do with Star Trek, that's when I went, this is what it's all about. Now I get it. And now years later, I'm able to still bounce out of bed every morning, do these late night webinars, and even spend ridiculous amounts of time in my spare time on a couch with my computer making software work. That's what you can do. So what will your Ikigai be? If you find out more about that, please just share this video around. I'm going to put it on YouTube a little later tomorrow so that you can see this again. So through the Darwin Innovation Hub YouTube channel, which is just youtube.com/@ Darwin Innovation Hub, all one word, and that will get you through to, I think it's capital D, capital I, capital H, if you can remember that.